Emily and Jack Thompson had always dreamed of escaping the chaos of city life. Newly married and still basking in the glow of their wedding, they wanted a honeymoon that felt completely removed from the noise, the traffic, and the endless responsibilities of everyday life. After weeks of searching, they stumbled upon a small, rustic treehouse tucked deep in the Appalachian mountains. Its wooden walls were weathered by time, yet charmingly adorned with lanterns and flowering vines. From the photos online, it seemed like the perfect place to disappear into nature and just be together, a world away from everyone else. The drive up the winding mountain roads was nothing short of magical. Towering trees cast dappled shadows across the narrow lanes, while birdsong and the occasional rustle of deer in the underbrush created a natural soundtrack that seemed straight out of a dream. Jack kept glancing at Emily as she pressed her face against the window, mesmerized by the scenery. The further they went, the more the outside world melted away, replaced by the quiet majesty of the Appalachian wilderness. For the Thompsons, every mile felt like stepping into a storybook, an adventure meant just for two. When they finally arrived, the treehouse seemed even more enchanting in person than in pictures. Elevated high among the oaks, it overlooked a small valley blanketed in mist, with distant mountains rolling off into the horizon. A wooden balcony wrapped around the treehouse, offering what appeared to be endless views of untouched forest. Emily immediately ran to the railing, breathing in the crisp mountain air, while Jack lugged in their suitcases and tried to capture every moment with his camera. They laughed and joked about how perfect it all was, little knowing that this perfect place was about to become the center of a terrifying mystery. Inside, the treehouse was cozy yet rustic. Exposed wooden beams, a small fireplace, and a loft bedroom made it feel intimate, almost like it was designed to cocoon them away from the world. They unpacked their bags slowly, savoring the solitude. Jack lit a few candles to set a romantic mood, while Emily pulled out a worn map of the surrounding trails, eager to plan hikes and exploration for the coming days. Every detail, from the creaking floors to the scent of pine wafting through the open windows, seemed to whisper promises of adventure, relaxation, and memories that would last a lifetime. As night fell, the forest around them transformed. Shadows stretched long across the valley, and the sounds of the day gave way to the rustling of leaves, distant animal calls, and the soft whisper of the wind through the trees. Sitting on the balcony with hot cocoa, the couple marveled at the sky turning deep purple, dotted with stars. It was magical, and just a little eerie. Even in the warmth of their new life together, a tiny shiver ran down Emily's spine, an instinct she brushed off as excitement. In those final hours before darkness fully descended, the Thompsons could not have known that their dream getaway was about to become the beginning of an unthinkable disappearance. On the morning of July 12, 1997, Emily and Jack Thompson woke to the soft glow of sunlight filtering through the leaves of their treehouse. The forest was alive with the sounds of birds chirping, leaves rustling, and a nearby stream gurgling quietly in the distance. They spent the morning exploring the small trails surrounding the treehouse, laughing as they pointed out unusual plants and skittish wildlife. Locals who occasionally hiked nearby caught glimpses of them. Jack with his camera slung around his neck, Emily with a wide-brimmed hat, both smiling, carefree, and completely at ease in the wilderness. To anyone who saw them that day, they looked like the perfect couple enjoying the honeymoon of a lifetime. By midday, the couple returned to their treehouse to prepare lunch. They were seen waving to a passing hiker, their faces glowing with excitement. Emily had carefully laid out a small picnic near the balcony, and Jack was fiddling with the map, plotting which trail they might explore next. Even the most observant neighbors later described a sense of serenity that surrounded them, a kind of rare peace that the mountains often bestow on those who visit. No one could imagine that within hours, the laughter and waving hands would be the last confirmed sighting of the Thompsons alive. As the sun began its slow descent, shadows stretched across the treehouse balcony. Emily and Jack were seen carrying firewood into the small fireplace, chatting and occasionally pausing to admire the view of the valley below. A few hikers on a distant trail waved, and the couple waved back enthusiastically. Witnesses remembered noticing the way Emily paused for an unusually long time, staring into the dense forest, almost as if she sensed something, though none could put a finger on what. It was a fleeting moment, easily dismissed at the time, but in hindsight, it would become one of the haunting details of the day they disappeared. By evening, the Thompsons had lit lanterns inside the treehouse, casting a warm glow that flickered against the wooden walls. The couple was seen from afar sitting side by side, sharing a quiet conversation, sipping coffee, and laughing softly at jokes only they understood. To the outside world, everything seemed perfectly normal, an idyllic end to a peaceful day in the mountains. But when night fell, the forest swallowed the sounds of their voices, leaving only the distant echo of wildlife and the whisper of the wind through the trees. That night, the last known sighting of Emily and Jack faded into darkness. When the couple failed to check in the next morning, concern quickly began to mount. Their car was still parked at the trailhead, untouched. Local hikers who had passed by the day before started to wonder if something had gone wrong. Friends and family tried calling, but no one answered. It was as if the mountains themselves had claimed the newlyweds, leaving behind only the faint memory of laughter and waving hands in the fading daylight. The sense of unease that would come to define the search had its roots in this final sighting, a seemingly normal day that ended in a mystery no one could explain. By the third day of no contact, the Thompsons' families were growing frantic. Friends tried calling repeatedly, but every attempt went unanswered. At first, authorities thought perhaps the couple had simply decided to extend their honeymoon or were out of cell range. But as hours turned into days, that explanation began to lose credibility. Local rangers and police organized a small search party, combing the dense forest surrounding the treehouse, calling out the names Emily, Jack. The forest, however, responded with silence. Only the occasional rustle of leaves or a distant bird call answered back, as if mocking their concern. Search teams expanded the operation over the following days. Volunteers trudged through steep hills and thick underbrush, their boots sinking into damp soil, their flashlights cutting through the shadows cast by towering pines. Helicopters hovered overhead, sweeping the area with bright searchlights. Yet from above, the forest looked deceptively peaceful, a vast sea of green that seemed to swallow anyone who dared enter. Despite the manpower and technology, no sign of Emily or Jack emerged. No footprints, no clothing, no trace of a struggle. The mystery deepened with every passing hour. Neighbors and hikers began sharing sightings, hoping their accounts might help. Some claimed to have glimpsed shadows moving through the forest. Others reported distant calls that sounded like faint voices, but when teams reached those spots, nothing was ever found. Items the Thompsons had brought, backpacks, cameras, even their luggage, were gone from the treehouse, untouched and undisturbed. It was as if the newlyweds had simply vanished into the wilderness, leaving no clues behind. Every lead seemed to dissolve into the dense fog of the Appalachian trees. By the end of the first week, frustration and tension ran high. The community that had initially offered hope began to feel a creeping dread. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some whispered that the couple had run off to start a secret new life, while others feared the worst, that something sinister lurking in the forest had taken them. Searchers described an eerie feeling as they moved deeper into the woods, a sensation of being watched. Even seasoned rangers admitted that the Appalachian wilderness seemed to close in on them, muffling sound and obscuring sight, making it feel as though the forest itself was hiding the Thompsons from the world. Despite the massive effort, no breakthrough came. Days turned into weeks, and the official search wound down, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a lingering sense of unease. Family members refused to give up, continuing to patrol the trails and posting flyers, while the forest remained indifferent, silent, and enigmatic. Every branch that rustled in the wind, every shadow that flickered across the trail, reminded those searching that Emily and Jack were out there somewhere, or perhaps they were already gone. The hunt had begun, but the forest seemed determined to guard its secrets fiercely. 6 years after Emily and Jack disappeared, the case had gone cold, or at least, that's what most people believed. Local authorities had long since given up hope of finding any trace of the newlyweds, and the forest had settled back into its quiet rhythm, as if nothing had ever happened. But in 2003, the FBI reopened the investigation after receiving a tip from a hiker who stumbled upon something unusual near a hidden creek not far from the treehouse. It was a small, torn piece of a map, the edges frayed and discolored, with cryptic markings that no one had seen before. Though tiny and seemingly insignificant, this clue sparked new hope and new fear. Agents returned to the Appalachian Mountains, combing through the dense foliage with fresh eyes. They followed faint signs that others had overlooked, broken twigs, shallow depressions in the earth, and footprints that appeared to lead somewhere deep into the forest. But the tracks were incomplete, fading abruptly as though the ground itself had swallowed the couple whole. The further the investigators pressed, the more the forest seemed to resist them. Strange noises echoed in the trees, branches snapping without reason, distant rustling that vanished when approached, adding an almost supernatural tension to the search. The torn map became the focal point of the investigation. Analysts debated whether it was part of a hiking trail or if it hinted at something darker, perhaps a hidden path, a secret site, or a location the couple had stumbled upon accidentally. Some FBI agents were skeptical, viewing it as little more than a coincidence, while others believed it was the key to unraveling the mystery. Each night, the forest seemed to mock their efforts. Shadows danced between the trees, and the wind carried whispers that made even the most experienced agents uneasy. For the first time, the search shifted from routine investigation to something far more eerie and inexplicable. Local hikers and residents added to the mystery with stories that seemed almost too strange to be true. One claimed to have glimpsed a flicker of movement in the fog, like a figure moving between the trees at dusk. Another spoke of hearing faint laughter, playful yet distant, echoing across the valley. Investigators considered these reports, but nothing concrete was ever found. The clues were there, tantalizingly close, yet maddeningly out of reach. It was as if the forest itself had intentionally hidden Emily and Jack, leaving only fragments of evidence to torment those seeking answers. Despite months of renewed investigation, the FBI could not definitively explain what had happened. The torn map and incomplete footprints were like pieces of a puzzle with missing sections, teasing them with the possibility of a solution that remained forever out of grasp. Yet the case reignited public interest, and the Appalachian Mountains, once merely a scenic escape, had become a place of whispers and unanswered questions. With each step taken in the dense undergrowth, the sense of mystery grew, hinting that the disappearance of Emily and Jack was far more complicated and far darker than anyone had ever imagined. As the investigation continued, the disappearance of Emily and Jack Thompson began to intertwine with local folklore, and whispers of the supernatural crept through the Appalachian communities. Longtime residents spoke in hushed tones about the spirits of the mountains, tales passed down through generations about hikers who never returned and travelers who vanished without a trace. Some claimed that certain parts of the forest were cursed, places where the boundaries between reality and legend blurred. To the locals, the Thompsons' disappearance wasn't just a tragic mystery. It was proof that the mountains held secrets that outsiders could never fully understand. Theories began to multiply, some grounded in logic, others steeped in the eerie and unexplainable. A few believed the couple might have fallen victim to a hidden criminal element operating deep in the wilderness, a cabin of squatters, illegal activity, or even poachers who prided themselves on remaining invisible. Yet, no evidence of foul play was ever discovered. The more rational explanations were frustratingly thin, leaving the community and investigators grappling with the sense that something beyond human understanding might be at work. Every shadow in the forest seemed to spark a new theory, and every sudden noise or movement reinforced the feeling that unseen eyes were watching. Supernatural speculation only intensified the mystery. Some locals told stories of travelers encountering ghostly figures in the woods, fleeting glimpses of faces among the trees, and lights that appeared and vanished without explanation. Others claimed the Appalachian Mountains themselves were alive in a strange way, a vast network of hidden caves and narrow passes that could swallow a person whole. These legends, though often dismissed by skeptics, gained traction after the FBI found those puzzling footprints and the torn map. People began to wonder, had Emily and Jack unknowingly stumbled into one of these hidden places? Or worse, had they angered something that lived unseen in the mountains? Even the seasoned searchers couldn't escape the unsettling energy of the forest. Rangers reported strange feelings of being followed, and hikers occasionally described seeing shadows that disappeared when approached. Some claimed that animals behaved oddly near certain trails, as though warning intruders to keep away. The deeper investigators and volunteers delved into the mountains, the more they felt an inexplicable presence, a tension that made the forest feel alive and watchful. With every new story from locals, the mystery grew more layered and disturbing, blurring the line between real danger and legend. As the years passed, Emily and Jack's disappearance became a cautionary tale, a story that mothers told children to warn them about the unknown dangers of wandering too far into the forest. Yet even with warnings and fear, curiosity persisted. Adventurers, thrill-seekers, and amateur investigators would occasionally venture into the Appalachian wilderness, drawn by the story of the vanished Newlyweds. And though most returned with nothing but tales of the dense, quiet forest, some claimed to feel a presence or hear whispers that chilled them to the bone, proof, perhaps, that the mountains had not released their secrets, and that the fate of Emily and Jack Thompson was still locked somewhere among the trees. As the years went by, Emily and Jack Thompson's disappearance became one of the most confounding cases in the history of the Appalachian Mountains. Despite modern search methods, including aerial surveillance, cadaver dogs, and satellite imagery, no definitive trace of the couple was ever uncovered. The treehouse remained intact, almost eerily untouched, as if the couple had simply evaporated into thin air. Every lead hit a dead end, and every potential clue seemed to dissolve the moment it was discovered. Investigators described a creeping sense that the forest itself was conspiring to hide the truth. The lack of evidence only fueled speculation. Some experts suggested that the terrain might have played a critical role. Narrow trails, sudden drops, and hidden crevices could easily conceal anyone who wandered off. But even this didn't fully explain the absence of personal belongings or signs of struggle. Hikers reported strange phenomena: fog rolling in too quickly, sudden temperature drops, and shadows moving against the natural flow of the wind. Each of these anomalies added to the unnerving sense that the forest was not just a backdrop for the disappearance. It was an active participant in the mystery. The local community became obsessed with the case, holding vigils and organizing amateur searches even years later. Rumors of secret caves, abandoned structures, and old logging tunnels gained traction, prompting some to believe that Emily and Jack may have stumbled upon something hidden, or someone hidden. Every new story seemed to reinforce the same chilling idea, that the couple had crossed a threshold in the forest from which there was no return. Even FBI agents admitted that the case had left them unsettled, haunted by unanswered questions that grew heavier with every passing year. The psychological toll of the mystery weighed heavily on the families. Every anniversary of the disappearance was marked by grief and fear, combined with an unrelenting hope that somehow Emily and Jack might be found. Friends and neighbors reported hearing strange sounds near the forest trails, and some even claimed fleeting glimpses of figures resembling the couple at dawn or dusk. While these reports could not be verified, they added layers of haunting realism to a story that had already captured the imagination of anyone who heard it. As time passed, the story of Emily and Jack evolved from a simple missing person case into a legend whispered across towns and hiking communities. The Appalachian wilderness had claimed another enigma, and with every failed search and unexplained sighting, the mystery deepened. The forest kept its secrets close, the shadows longer, and the air heavier with questions that had no answers. For investigators, family, and thrill-seekers alike, the disappearance became more than just an event. It became an enduring puzzle, a haunting presence that lingered in the quiet moments when the mountains seemed to whisper. Even decades after their disappearance, Emily and Jack Thompson remained a haunting enigma. Hikers still ventured into the Appalachian wilderness, drawn by the story, hoping to catch a glimpse or find some clue that had eluded investigators for years. Some returned shaken, claiming they felt unseen eyes tracking them through the trees, or that the forest seemed to shift subtly around them, closing off paths that should have been clear. The mystery had taken on a life of its own, blurring the line between fact and folklore, leaving everyone who heard the story questioning the very nature of the mountains. Occasionally, strangers would report fleeting shadows or faint figures moving in the distance near the old Treehouse trail. Some claimed to hear laughter or whispers carried by the wind, just for a moment before fading away into the forest's silence. Even the most skeptical investigators found it difficult to dismiss these accounts entirely. The sightings were inconsistent, almost teasing, yet their frequency over the years suggested a pattern too eerie to ignore. The mountains seemed alive with unanswered questions, as if protecting the secret of what had truly happened to the Newlyweds. Some theorists suggested the Thompsons might have discovered something hidden in the forest, a secret path, an abandoned structure, or even a hidden criminal operation, and paid the ultimate price. Others leaned toward the supernatural, whispering about the spirits of the Appalachians or the idea that certain areas of the forest were cursed, places where time and reality bent in ways the human mind couldn't comprehend. Every clue, every strange story, seemed to support one theory and contradict another, leaving the truth perpetually out of reach and shrouded in tension. The families, despite decades of anguish, refused to accept that Emily and Jack were lost forever. They returned to the forest, scouring trails, calling out names, and leaving personal items in the hope of making a connection. Yet, the forest offered nothing but its silence and shadows. The unanswered question hung over the community like a heavy fog. Had the couple fallen victim to some natural danger, to foul play, or had the mountains claimed them in some inexplicable way? Each passing year seemed to deepen the mystery rather than resolve it. Even today, the Appalachian Mountains hold their secret tightly. Locals warn adventurers about the Treehouse Trail, telling stories of vanishing hikers and inexplicable sounds. Yet curiosity persists. People still go, driven by thrill, disbelief, or hope. The question remains, what truly happened to Emily and Jack Thompson? And if the mountains keep their secrets so well, will anyone ever uncover the truth hidden among the dense trees, whispering winds, and endless shadows? As night falls over the Appalachian Mountains, the forest seems to whisper secrets that no one can fully understand. Emily and Jack Thompson vanished without a trace, leaving behind only questions, shadows, and the haunting feeling that the mountains themselves are keeping their story hidden. Some say if you listen closely, you can hear faint laughter among the trees, or see a fleeting shadow at twilight. Will the truth ever be uncovered? Or will the Appalachian wilderness continue to guard its secrets forever, leaving Emily and Jack lost among the trees for eternity? One thing is certain, the mountains are patient, and some mysteries are never meant to be solved. So the next time you wander through a quiet forest, remember their story, because you never know what, or who, might be watching from the shadows.
If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Most importantly, subscribe and hit the bell icon so the next secret finds you first.